Most headphones today are intended for one of two markets. They're either for listeners who want to remain at home with their stereo system and enjoy that intimate, solitary sonic experience, or they're for listeners who are on the go and want to use music off their smartphone or their laptop while they're traveling. Yes, there are models that say they do everything for everyone, but few actually do. Of course, for every rule, there are exceptions. And the subject of today's review, the Beyerdynamic DT 900 Pro X's, may be one such exception. For the Absolute Sound, I'm John Quayne. What makes the Beyerdynamic 900 Pro X's an exception is that these are wired headphones. They have an open back design, but they happen to be very efficient. That is, they have a low impedance, which isn't usual for larger open-backed headphones. The advantage of having this open-back design is that they give it a more transparent acoustic profile, definitely a more openness than being closed and enclosed. But those headphones usually are more resistant. That is, they have a higher impedance. That means they need more voltage to drive them to acceptable volumes. These headphones are an exception to that. They only have a 48 ohm impedance, which is pretty minimal as headphones go. A lot of them in this size go 250 ohms or higher, but it means that you can plug them into a smartphone and get plenty of volume out of the tiny voltage that comes out of a smartphone jack, for example, or on most laptops. Now, there are exceptions, technically, for some laptops. Apple's MacBooks, many of those models automatically sense what the impedance of the headphones are that you plug into them, and they will adjust accordingly. So you won't have so many headaches with those if you're doing that. So there are exceptions, but generally speaking, headphones are designed for one and not so much for the other. And the only way to accommodate it if you've got high ohm headphones is to use an outboard headphone amplifier, which kind of kills the convenience if you're trying to listen to a smartphone. So the Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X's offer a distinct advantage here. So who are these headphones for, aside from somebody who wants the flexibility of using it on a portable system or on their home stereo? Beyerdynamic says these headphones are for content creators. They're aimed at influencers and sound engineers, but you don't have to be either one of those to appreciate the sonic capabilities of these headphones. They actually make for a good critical listening experience and an entry price point. The street price is about $250 for these headphones, which makes them a real value, actually. They're not a completely flat, colorless, transparent sonic profile. They have some high-end emphasis, so to speak, definitely there. But in terms of budget constraints, and if you're looking just to start your system, the DT900 Pro X's are a great choice. Beyerdynamic has a long history in audio equipment. They've been around for over 100 years. They were founded in Germany, and they continue to tout the fact that not only were these headphones designed in Germany, they were built in Germany. They come with a soft carrying case. They have two separate cables that plug into the left earpiece of the headphones. They lock into place. They have a shorter cable, a 6-foot cable, and a longer 9-foot cable. They have adapters, means they can accommodate, again, a smartphone with a mini jack, a 3.5 millimeter jack, and a larger 1/4-inch jack on traditional stereo equipment. Inside the headphones, they call the drivers their Stellar 45 drivers. The 45 refers to 45 millimeter, the size of these dynamic drivers. They have a 3-layer diaphragm, and they're pretty typical, I would say, for headphones or exterior cans of this size and this caliber. Not that unusual, and not bigger or smaller than most. They weigh about 345 grams, so they're in the right range for weight as well, and they don't feel heavy at all. So what do the Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X's sound like? Overall, I would say they deliver a pleasantly open sound with good spatialization. They have an excellent mid-range. There is a pronounced treble boost and a little roll-off in the lower bass end. Yes, if you want truly transparent headphones without some of these sacrifices, you can go with a reputable electrostatic model, say, but those models can easily cost 10 times as much as these headphones. I found them to be nicely responsive on subtle transients, for example, and you could hear, let's say, the drummer rustling during the opening bars of Thelonious Monk's Well You Needn't on Live from at the Workshop. Album I happen to be hung up on at the moment. The sax comes in dead center, defining the soundstage very neatly, and it handles the harmonics of Monk's piano quite well, all of which give the live recording a live feeling, something we value very highly. On the other hand, while I appreciated what it could offer in these headphones in the upper ranges and with the saxophone, for example, something was definitely missing in the stand-up bass on this recording. Consider also David Bowie's Space Oddity, a remastered version of that song, and it revealed that there were quite efficient headphones, to be sure, especially when compared with other low impedance headphones. I would say these were even more efficient, the DT 900s. And on the remastered version of David Bowie's Space Oddity, it did justice to Rick Makeman's kind of mellotron and soaring keyboards and this weird stylophone synthesizer that David Bowie plays on the song. And the mix really lent itself well to more dominant treble coloration that these headphones have to offer. Even the bass of Herbie Flowers seemed clearer here. So while it didn't make you feel like you were exactly on stage with the band in that live sense, it made you feel like you might be in the mixing recording studio. So what about this little bit of roll-off on the bottom end? So for that, you bring in John Bonham. If you listen to Led Zeppelin's Custard Pie off the remastered version of Physical Graffiti, you'll hear what I mean. There's great hi-hat off his drum kit. The rendering of Robert Plant's harmonica, top-notch. Transients are smooth and clean without being too sharp or harsh. But when it comes to that kick drum of John Bonham's, there's a little punch missing. Testing it out further from what we heard, Elvis Costello's Pump It Up from this year's model, another great remastered classic album. Again, something missing in that bottom end a little bit. On the other hand, Elvis's vocals are cleanly rendered, and you could even pick out some background chorus work that had been overdubbed that I had never really noticed before. So again, this coloration on the treble end can work in its favor, and it can work against you on some tracks. In its favor, surprisingly, are some vocal personalities, like listening to Lou Reed on another remastered classic of Sweet Jane. You can almost hear him leaning into the microphone, and there's a more of a guttural sound and more of a presence and live feeling to it that's missing on some other headphones. Another area where the Beyerdynamic DT 900 Pro X's sort of emphasis on the high end really worked in its favor, oddly enough, was a recording by the Emerson String Quartet, Schumann String Quartets from 2020, and there, the emphasis on the treble really worked in its favor, especially in Quartet number 1 in A minor. It gave this recording a more live feel. I could clearly situate the instruments in a nicely defined soundstage. Not too crazy. It's not like they were separated by miles in a big stadium. It was as if they were on stage and you were in the fifth seat. And the reproduction here, well, these headphones made it sort of more fun, if Schumann can be fun. And things like that spiccato, bouncy, yes, bouncy from the Emerson String Quartet, did an excellent job with that recording. And then in some contemporary jazz recordings as well, we listened to Kavita Shah. She has a record that's quite wonderful, Cape Verdean Blues, not the Cape Verdean Blues of Horace Silver from the 60s, not that album. Shaw here uses even her breathing as percussion, and she goes from sort of bossa nova and traditional jazz to almost raga style. It all is very challenging for a set of headphones, definitely. Beyerdynamic DT 900 Pro X's did an excellent job reproducing her voice, even in this full range of different vocal instrumentations, as it were. It did miss a little bit of the smokiness, the bottom end of her voice, but on the other hand, there were other passages where her voice soars and it was crisp and clean and ethereal. Smoother top end, definitely, again, thanks to that coloration in the treble these headphones provide. Last thing to say here is, no matter how good the headphones are or how much you like a sonic profile or don't like a sonic profile, it won't matter at all if they're not comfortable, because then you won't wear them no matter what you paid for them. In this case, I have to say the Beyerdynamic DT 900 Pro X's are extremely comfortable. Wore them for many hours on end, listening to music from every kind of genre imaginable, and never got fatigued, not once. So the bottom line for the Beyerdynamic D900 Pro X headphones is basically very open, good soundstage headphones, an excellent upgrade to many models, costing even a couple of $100s more. So consider them if you're making that upgrade and you're on a budget. However, also recognize that these are wired headphones. They do have some little bit of roll off on the bass end, and they have some bright coloration in the treble end. You may find that irritating. It wasn't harsh, but it is noticeable. For the Absolute Sound, I'm John Quain. Just a reminder that if you find these reviews helpful at all in making your buying decisions, please click the like button at the bottom of this video. Also, consider subscribing to our video channel online and subscribing online to the newsletter. And yes, there is a print publication. We love print. Consider subscribing to The Absolute Sound.